one of the most dramatic portrayals, maybe the most dramatic portrayal of what we had on the Trump side was Trump's response to being shot. It was like this.
Yeah.
Right? Go to hell. You're not stopping me, no matter what. And like, as Musk pointed out, that's not staged.
Jordan Peterson sits down with Piers on Piers Morgan Uncensored to talk about why Republicans, especially Donald Trump, seem to aspire both extreme loyalty and absolute hatred. In this explosive conversation, they cover everything from Trump's near-death resilience to Biden's questionable last-minute decisions on the world stage. This isn't just politics, it's about the battle for the soul of leadership. Peterson, as always, is razor sharp and unafraid to call out hypocrisy. Let's break it down with bold opinions, unflinching analysis, and a little bit of well-deserved mockery. Let's get into it.
The reviews have been almost comical. Like, people love you or they hate you so much they want to rip you to pieces. Do you care? Or, because I get the same, we call it Marmite over here, which is a savoury thing you put on toast, which people either love or hate. Do you care, or do you just want people to be reacting?
Well, look, I mean, if you have any sense and people are paying attention to what you're doing, you're happy about the fact that they're paying attention to what you're doing. And then whether the attention is negative or positive, I suppose that's the next thing up on the agenda. And it's been a pattern through my life that people have that kind of reaction to what I'm doing, you know. And luckily in my actual life, day to day, in the real world, virtually everybody I meet is pleased with what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And so that's wonderful. The reviews, as you said, have been comical. I was reading the Times review today.
Oh my God.
It's like,
he hates
James
you.
Marriott, he just hates me. Oh my God, he just hates me, yeah.
And what really got him, what I loved about that review was he was clearly, it was eating away at him that the last time one of your books came out, he said something positive that you then used in the marketing for the book, which is obviously what we all do as authors.
And the media always tries, and especially Twitter, always tries to throw a bunch of garbage at anyone who opposes their views. So it's good to see that they're using that to their advantage instead of letting it actually attack them.
And he was so determined this time you couldn't do that he wanted to address that right off the top. Right off the top.
Yeah, well, I did do it, though. I did do it. I tweeted out something today that I culled from his review to make it look very positive. So I thought that was hilarious. Because it wasn't easy, because there wasn't much in it that was positive. But I thought that would really rub him the wrong way.
Oh, it would enrage him. Well, we'll come back to the book. It's fascinating, the book. And I really want to get into that with you a little later. But I want to talk to you, just first of all, I want to play you a clip. This is from when you and I did an interview just after the start of the Russia invasion of Ukraine. Let's take a look at this.
Do you think he will use a nuclear weapon?
If necessary, he'll use a tactical battlefield weapon.
Even if it starts World War III?
It won't, probably.
Why? Because we wouldn't respond?
What's in it for us?
If you let him do it and get away with it, where does that end? Then you are into a Hitler analogy.
Look, you can get yourself in a situation, no problem, where there's no good outcome.
I mean, here we are, Jordan. You know, we're 2 years later. We're in a stalemate. Putin is still rattling his nuclear weapons as a threatening, back-off, pretty menacing device. He's done that a few times and then not acted on it. But things are clearly very tense there. And there's a change coming in the presidency in America, which could be crucial as well. Where do you think we are with this war? Are we any better off or towards any kind of clarity or ending than we were when you and I spoke back then?
Well, I thought a week ago that the most likely outcome with regard to the outgoing Biden administration is that the military-industrial complex, who has a vested interest in seeing this war prolonged, would do something to provoke Russia into doing something that was unforgivable so that the war would have to continue. And
Jordan Peterson is peeling back the curtain on Biden's playbook, and now that Trump has taken back the presidency, we have a chance to reverse course. The Biden administration's reckless decisions arming Ukraine with long-range missiles and landmines in its final days were never about peace. They were about keeping the war machine churning. Trump, by contrast, has repeatedly called out the swamp for these endless conflicts, and his victory signals a return to sanity, where foreign policy serves America's interest, not the elite's wallets.
that's, as far as I'm concerned, that's exactly, now I could be wrong, but that seems to me to be exactly what's happened this week. I mean, Biden, in the dying embers of his administration, decided that it was okay for Ukraine to use medium to long-range missiles, which is a hell of a thing to do as an outgoing president. And now they've also proposed that it will be acceptable for Ukraine to use a certain kind of distributable landmine. And it's like, this is independent of what you think about the war, as far as I'm concerned. It's like, really, is that what you do? That's the steps you take as a dead duck president in the final months of your administration. I think that's a little bit on the provocative side. Now, the Trump election campaign was a great drama, and there was a kind of victimized femininity, let's say, on the Democrat side, with Kamala Harris and her cohorts really emblematic of that. And then what did we have on the Trump side? Well, one of the most dramatic portrayals, maybe the most dramatic portrayal of what we had on the Trump side, was Trump's response to being shot. It was like this.
Yeah.
Right? Go to hell.
This moment defines Donald Trump's appeal, and after everything, the deep state, the media, and even gunfire, he stood back up and said, go to hell. This is what leadership is. The Democrats, meanwhile, wasted their time peddling victimhood and identity politics, proving that they have no idea how to handle a fighter like Trump. It's why millions of Americans, despite relentless opposition, rallied behind him to get the outcome that we got.
Not stopping me, no matter what. And like, as Musk pointed out, that's not staged. And you know, it was so interesting watching the victimized Democrat response to that, because their response was open-mouthed amazement that anything like that could even be possible. It must have been a hoax, because no one could possibly react like that.
Yeah.
It's like, well, wrong. Trump could react like that, and despite whatever faults he might have, that's what he's like. He got up and said, you're not stopping me no matter what. And you know, more power to him. And I don't think it's an overestimate to presume that that won him the election.
I totally
agree. And you can
agree.
see the immense literary drama there.
You know what, Jordan? I've just written exactly that. I've done the Spectator magazine diary this week. And I said, when I think back, I spoke to Trump 4 times in the last few weeks of the race, including a week after he got shot, when he saw me talking about it on TV in America, and he called me. And we had a fascinating conversation. He said it had reinvigorated his faith in God, because he said God must have wanted me to survive. Because he said literally he was alive because he moved his head half an inch to read some charts on the teleprompter. And if he hadn't, he'd be dead. And secondly, that he, you know, I said to him, amazing you're back out doing rallies so soon. And he went, well, I knew if I didn't do it quickly, I may not ever do it, which I thought was one of the very few times I've seen any vulnerability for Trump. But of course that. But the balls, not just to stand back up when he got shot, to stand back up saying fight, 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 when he didn't know if there were other shooters out there. But secondly, to get back on a stage in front of 20,000 people, none of whom you know, a week later, and to keep doing it, sometimes much bigger crowds, especially when there was a second attempt to kill him a few weeks later, where literally a Secret Service agent walking ahead of him on a golf course saw the barrel of an AK-47 poke out of a bush. And if he hadn't, Trump would have been there 4 minutes later and would be dead. So twice in the space of 2 months, Trump came very, very close to being assassinated. And yet it didn't stop him getting back out there. And
I mean, this is the kind of fortitude that earned Trump his second term. 2 assassination attempts, legal witch hunts, and endless media attacks couldn't keep him down. And what did Trump do? He stood back up and rallied harder than ever. Compare that to Biden, who couldn't even campaign without tripping over himself. The American people saw the difference, and they chose a leader who doesn't just survive the fight, he thrives in it. Trump's return to the presidency isn't just a win for him, it's a win for everyone who values strength over submission.
I do think, when I think back on the whole thing, there were lots of components to why he won, not least the incompetence of the opposition. However, I think regular Americans, and the rest of the world actually, but regular Americans looked at his strength literally under fire, and his resilience and his determination to keep pounding on. I think they looked at that and thought, you know what, after everything that's been thrown at him, the weaponizing of the justice system, literal attempts to kill him, and all the rest of it, look at him, he's still pounding on. And it's a really admirable quality in a man, right?
Absolutely. Well, and you know, you pointed out that it wasn't only the fact that he immediately leapt up on stage and basically said, go to hell, you're not stopping me.
Yeah.
But then also that he continued to speak and didn't take, what would you say, even perhaps warranted precautions. It's the perfect thing to do psychologically, because if you shrink away in consequence of that threat, you live in fear for the rest of your life. And Trump's determination was obviously, no matter what, I won't live in.
Peterson perfectly captures the essence of Trump's comeback here. Trump's refusal to live in fear isn't just a personal trait, it's a symbol of defiance against everything the left tried to weaponize. Fear, control, and division. That's why his victory is so much bigger than the election itself. It's a declaration that no matter how much they throw at us, we won't back down.
Fear. And that's the same decision Job makes, by the way, in the book of Job. It's a decision not to lose faith and not to live in fear, no matter what, right? No matter what. And that is a manifestation of the spirit that is indomitable. And I think that is a reflection of the image of God.
Yeah.
And so